Ik ben Leo Jansen uit Oberloon en vanmiddag ben ik uw ceremoniemeester. Dear family members of Frederick Ward, Ronald Hessler, Richard John Jenkins, Frederick Steffens, Victor Kissick, Robert Wilson, and last but not least, Andrew Allen. Welcome, welcome. Finding relatives of all crew members of the ED449 VNT was for me the main reason to be involved in this project. The sentence from a RAF 50 Squadron diary says, Lancaster B, MK, ED449 VNT and crew were never heard from again after leaving Skellingthorpe. This kept me pushing and searching for all family members. Only 2 weeks ago, we came in contact with the family of the Flight Sergeant Andrew Allen, the last family to be found out of 7. I almost quit, but then Mrs. Sue Aiden came into my life. Sue is a relative to Robert Wilson, one of the crew members, and she helped me finding the Allen family. Sue? Many thanks for Sue. Also, not to forget to mention Henry Stevens, who helped me in first. And he is a second cousin to Frederick Stevens. So it's all in the family. A hard struggle, but we have results. I really hope that today we can give the missing information that can and will fill your mind with clearness and peace after these long years of grief. I will now address the Dutch people to their native language. Geachte aanwezigen, gisteren 3 maart 2020, 75 jaar geleden, werden de laatste 3 dorpen in Noord-Limburg bevrijd, waaronder Wel en Wellerlooy. Zo werd ook de gemeente Bergen verlost van de bezetter. Vanuit het noorden kwamen de Engelsen en vanuit het zuiden de Amerikanen, bijna gelijktijdig in een door de bezetter verlaten gebied. De meeste inwoners waren geëvacueerd. Vele offers gingen aan deze bevrijding vooraf, te land, ter zee en in de lucht. Nadat de geboren Wellenaar Jacques Houwman in 2018 zijn boek over de 14 crashes en noodlandingen in de gemeente Bergen presenteerde, werd samen met Archief Wel, researchgroep de Pleinhunters en de gemeente Bergen een project opgezet. Jacques had voor zichzelf al een heel klein plannetje gemaakt om een monument te plaatsen. Dat dit plannetje zo groot uitpakt als dat we vandaag te zien krijgen, had ook Jacques niet verwacht. Het project werd na afloop van tijd aangevuld met de crashes en noodlandingen in de gemeenten Gennep, Mook-Middelaar en Weetse. Het werd dus een grensoverschrijdend project met in totaal 28 crashes en noodlandingen, geallieerd en Duits. Op de plek waar we nu zijn, viel op 12 maart 1943 de AVO Lancaster MK3 ED 449 met roepnaam VNT naar beneden na te zijn aangeschoten door oberluitenant Manfred Meurer, die destijds gestationeerd was op vliegerhast Venlo. Deze Lancaster is een van de meer dan 6000 vliegtuigen die gedurende de Tweede Wereldoorlog in Nederland zijn neergestort. Het gebied tussen Nijmegen en Roermond was de corridor voor de geallieerde bommenwerpers in de richting van het Ruhrgebied. Hier aan de ontginningsweg in Bergen vonden in die nacht 7 mannen de dood. 2 Canadezen, 5 Engelsen of uit het Verenigd Koninkrijk. Deel 5 uit een dagboek van 1942-1953 van het 50ste Squadron Royal Air Force begint met de tweede alinea Lancaster B, MK3, ED449, VNT and crew were never heard from again after leaving Skellingthorpe. Deze regel heeft mij ervan overtuigd een rol in deze prachtige werkgroep te kunnen spelen. Families moeten weten wat er destijds met hun familieleden is gebeurd. Waar, waarom. De vrijheid, gisteren al 75 jaar geleden, is er gekomen door de toewijding van de bemanningen, die hun kostbare leven lieten in een voor hen vreemd land, maar ook ontroostbare familieleden achterlieten. Als ze de bemanningen niet nog kunnen eren, dan valt onze enorme dank de familie ten deel. Dank u wel.
Hartelijk welkom, ik zou wel zeggen, op deze nu al indrukwekkende bijeenkomst. Wat een opkomst, fantastisch. Namens het college van burgemeester en wethouders mag ik u allen hartelijk welkom heten. Jacques, ik denk dat wij toen we 2 jaar geleden tegenover elkaar stonden in de buurt en elkaar de hand gaven en jij mij 2 boeken gaf, 1 voor mezelf en 1 voor de burgemeester, dat wij niet vermoed hadden dat het uiteindelijk vandaag tot iets zou leiden wat het uiteindelijk geworden is. Want we spraken toen met elkaar af, we gaan kijken of we een monumentje kunnen plaatsen bij al die crashsites en of we daar wellicht iets van een wandeling langs zouden kunnen maken. Nou, dat is gelukt. En ik wil in jou het organisatiecomité en het organisatiecomité namens alle gemeenten Mook, Gennep en Bergen, maar ook Weetsen, hartelijk danken voor de fantastische samenwerking die uiteindelijk tot dit prachtige resultaat heeft geleid. Dank je wel. Toen wij een tijdje geleden met onze veteranen uit de gemeente Bergen het over dit initiatief hadden, hebben wij gezegd, zou het niet een geweldig idee zijn als we voorafgaand aan de officiële opening, want we zijn er graag altijd als eerste bij, niet alvast eens langs al die monumenten zouden gaan lopen. Toen kwamen wij tot ontdekking dat dat 110 kilometer was. En toen hebben we gezegd, nou, en Jesse Seijers heeft dat voor ons allemaal fantastisch uitgezocht. Ja, als we er nou eens 17 pakken, dan is het 55 kilometer, dan is het in een nacht net te doen. Dat hebben we afgelopen nacht gedaan. Bij al die monumenten hebben wij even stilgestaan en hebben wij de namen gelezen van de mannen, maar ik zou eigenlijk liever willen zeggen van de jongens die daar zijn gevallen. Die jongens zijn meestal nog niet ouder dan mijn eigen kinderen. En ik denk dat het heel belangrijk is dat we samen blijven vechten voor de vrede die we nu al 75 jaar beleven. Vooral ook ter nagedachtenis aan dit soort jongens. Dank u wel.
Second chance for a break that will make it okay. There's always some reason to feel not good enough, and it's hard at the end of the day. I need some distraction, oh, beautiful release. Memories seep from my veins, let me be empty, oh, and weightless, and maybe I'll find some peace tonight in the arms of the angel, far away from here, from this dark, cold hotel room, and the endlessness that you feel. You are pulled from the wreckage of your silent reverie. You're in the arms of the angel. May you find some comfort here. So tired of the straight line, and everywhere you turn, there's vultures and thieves at your back. The sun keeps on twisting, you keep on building the line that you ain't after all that you've left. It don't make no difference, escaping one last time. It's easier to believe in this sweet madness, all these glories and sadness that bring brings me to my knees in the arms of the angel, far away from here, from this dark hotel room and the endlessness that you feel. You are pulled from the wreckage of your silent reverie. You're in the arms of the angel. May you find some comfort here. You're in the arms of the angel. May you find some comfort here. Thank you. Thank you.
Meine Damen und Herren, ladies and gentlemen, dames en heren, also the relatives of the fallen. Yesterday we celebrated our liberation exactly 75 years ago. And we are the province of Limburg, the southernmost province of the Netherlands. And it was a liberation that lasted almost 6 months. 6 months of often bitter fighting that took the lives of many of our liberators. Liberators who came from far away, from America, Canada, from the UK, and who gave us a great gift of freedom. And their lives, and therefore relatives of the fallen, also the lives of your family members, their lives for our freedom. And now, 75 years later, we have also followed the trail of liberation for 6 months. To remember again and again that enormous sacrifice that was made for us during and before those 6 months. They were large or small intimate commemorations, at large or at small monuments. But I can assure you they were all very impressive. Impressive because it still touches us, and because we are still grateful to those who risked their lives and lost them for our freedom. But also in full awareness that losing their lives also meant a great sorrow for their loved ones, their families and friends. And the faith and sacrifice of your family members, and you can be sure of this, will always touch us. It is therefore a great honor for me today to unveil with you the monument in honor of the crew of the plane that crashed here, 7 men who have been mourned by your families. Yesterday, on the day we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the liberation in a magnificent way, I was standing at a completely different kind of monument. It was also a plane. But it was a plane that was given to a primary school as playground equipment. A primary school called Startbaan, and that's Dutch for runway, named after a fake airfield that had been created there during the war to mislead the enemy. And that's where I got to talk to the children about brotherhood. How important it is to see each other, other persons, other peoples, other countries, as brothers and as friends. Because brotherhood is the best weapon and the best medicine against war. I told them I liked the idea that they had received a plane because it reminded me of a fairy tale written by a French pilot. A French pilot who had written this fairy tale during the Second World War, before his aircraft was also shot out of the sky. I told them that in this fairy tale the secret was revealed about how to make friends and stay friends. By not only looking with your eyes, but always with your heart. Because only your heart can really see. I also told them that I hoped that every time they looked at that plane, or played with it, they would think of that pilot, his fairy tale, and that secret. And ladies and gentlemen, that pilot was Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, and his fairy tale was that of the Little Prince, which also offers adults more than enough clues on how to deal with today's world. Today's world with increasing polarization, major upheavals, and struggles with true or with fake news, and challenges that all demand that we too continue to see with our hearts. So if only to remember worthy of the freedom given to us 75 years ago by so many who gave their lives for that precious gift, like your family members did. So thank you very much. Dames en heren, 6 maanden duurde het voordat heel Limburg gisteren precies 75 jaar geleden was bevrijd. En 6 maanden lang hebben we dit ook gevierd aan elkaar. Maar ook 6 maanden lang hebben we op alle mogelijke manieren onze bevrijders geëerd. En vandaag laat ook u hier allen zien dat wij ze niet zijn vergeten. Die bevrijders die hun leven voor ons waagden en hun leven gaven. En daarmee hun eigen geliefden, hun families en vrienden in diepe rouw dompelden. Maar chapeau, dames en heren, voor de manier waarop u hier hen die hier sneuvelden herdenkt. En de moeite die u heeft gedaan om hun families op te sporen en hier naartoe te halen. Zodat zij deze dagen met hun eigen ogen kunnen zien dat wij hier altijd dankbaar zullen blijven voor de vrijheid waarvoor hun mannen, hun jongens streden. Een vrijheid die we alleen al daarom altijd waard moeten zien te blijven. Dank u.
Vrijheid. Er is voor onze vrijheid gestreden, met alle soldaten en andere leden, gestreden met gevaar voor eigen leven. Wat fijn dat men dat ons heeft gegeven.
Of wij ook zo dapper zouden zijn, dat is maar de vraag. Heel fijn om hier samen te zijn vandaag. Wij zouden niet willen leven in de oorlog. Zeker omdat wij weten dat vrij zijn is, toch?
We weten dat vroeger veel dingen niet mochten. Wat fijn dat men voor ons heeft gevochten. Nu leven wij lang en gelukkig in vrijheid. Dat zorgt voor veel plezier en blijheid.
We zijn blij dat we nu zoveel dingen mogen zeggen. En dat we dit gedicht aan jullie mogen voorleggen. Graag willen wij zeggen bedankt voor uw aanwezigheid. Dankbaar dat wij mogen leven in vrijheid.
Bravo.
Dan wil ik graag vragen wingcommandant Mary Temple, afgevaardigde van de NATO, om haar speech te komen doen.
Families, ladies and gentlemen, 75 years ago this month, the municipality of Bergen was liberated, only 6 months before the end of the Second World War. Driving to this memorial service today, to this beautiful countryside, I found it hard to imagine what life must have been like, 75 years ago, or indeed what life must have been like during the Second World War. Particularly when we're looking at aircraft that may be flying overhead, which we're commemorating today. Very different, I would have thought. Many of the simple things we take for granted today would not have existed. The freedom to go when and where we like. The confidence to plan holidays and outings with loved ones. It seems a daunting prospect to have these liberties we're so very used to, not to hand. I then began to wonder what it must have been like for the airmen and women who were serving their countries during the Second World War, especially those who were flying their missions over this countryside. Their bravery knew no bounds, and many of them selflessly gave their lives for our future. It is fitting that we, and generations to come, now have this memorial, in the form of the connecting cyclepaths through the municipalities of Genep, Mook, Midlar, Wietze and Bergen, to remind and teach us of their sacrifices. In particular, this monument, which pays tribute to the project tirelessly brought together by Wings of Freedom, is set poignantly close to where the crew of Lancaster ED 449 perished, where their aircraft crashed 77 years ago on the 12th of March 1943. I can but imagine how these 7 airmen from 50 Squadron must have felt when they took off from RAF Skellingthorpe in Lincolnshire. I'm certain that there would have been a mix of excitement, fear, and sheer determination to get the job done. The core values and ethos held by these men are the same as those upheld by today's serving personnel of the Royal Air Force. A duty to put others first, moral courage, honesty, responsibility and justice. All qualities demonstrated in abundance by these brave airmen that we are commemorating today. And qualities that I see reflected also in abundance by my colleagues serving at home and overseas alongside our allied nations, together as one joint team. To the families who bore the loss of their loved ones when ED 449 crashed, thank you. I'd like to close by reading a poem which is etched onto RAF Skellingthorpe's memorial for the airmen and women of the Royal Air Force and other Allied Air Forces who served at RAF Skellingthorpe between 1941 and 1945. My brief, sweet life is over. My eyes no longer see. No Christmas trees, no summer walks, no pretty girls for me. I've got the chop, I've had it. My nightly ops are done. Yet in another 100 years, I'll still be 21.
There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see. There'll be love and laughter and peace ever after tomorrow, when the world is free. The shepherd will tend his sheep, the valley will bloom again, and Jimmy will go to sleep in his own little room again. There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see. The shepherd will tend his sheep, the valley will bloom again, and Jimmy will go to sleep in his own little room again. There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see. Dankjewel, 15.
Dames and Herren, ladies and gentlemen, as we gather here today to remember the crew of Lancaster bomber ED 449, it gives us a chance to reflect on the sacrifices made by men and women during the Second World War in the pursuit of freedom. The crew of the Lancaster bomber on that night was comprised of both Canadian and British airmen, emphasising the spirit of teamwork that is so vital during the war as it still is today. I'd like to thank the whole team involved in the research, identification of the crash site and bringing the families together at the commissioning of this memorial. It is vitally important that we remember and cherish the traditions and the values of the men and women that went before us and fought for the livelihoods we enjoy. I'll finish with a few lines, if I may, from Lawrence Binyon's 1914 poem, For the Fallen, which bridges the gap in history. They shall not grow old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Thank you, Matt.
Beste meneer de burgemeester, gereden gasten, dames en heren, familiebenden, gesneuvelden, veteranen, jongens en meisjes. Hartelijk bedankt voor de uitnodiging vandaag. Omdat ik alleen een beetje Nederlands spreek, ga ik nu in het Engels spreken. "75 years ago, the landscape across most of Europe and the Netherlands was drastically different than it is today. Planes overhead, tanks, trucks, and soldiers scattered throughout the land, united as one, fighting for freedom and peace. These men came across the globe from many different countries, cultures, and spoke different languages. Regardless, they were committed to working together to fight against the occupation and the tyranny. In Canada, the air campaign across the Netherlands is often overshadowed by the massive ground campaign fought by the Allied armies. Even today, 75 years later, we are still finding down aircraft in the Netherlands and identifying the crews, bringing closure to families and friends. Commemorations like today are so important. By remembering the past, we honor their duty and their sacrifice. Mission after mission, the air crews departed the ground, never knowing if they would return. Never assured that they would experience the peace and freedom that they fought for with courage and determination. Vrijheid, freedom, liberté. Such a simple word. It's easy to say, easy to define. The dictionary defines freedom as the condition of being free and unrestricted. What the dictionary doesn't tell us is that freedom isn't free. The cost of freedom is high, often paid for in human lives, both military and civilian. There are more than 5,000 Canadian war dead interred in 199 cemeteries across the Netherlands. There are Canadian graves in every one of the 12 provinces in the Netherlands. This reflects our massive effort put forth by all our allies to bring peace and freedom to the Netherlands. I've only been here for 8 months and have been privileged to attend a number of commemorations and monuments and unveilings. The gratitude expressed by the Dutch people towards Canada and their allies is humbling and oftentimes overwhelming. And as a Canadian, I must extend my heartfelt gratitude to the Dutch people for never forgetting the sacrifices of our fallen and by cherishing the gift of freedom that they were given 75 years ago today. As I stand here today, the Canadian Armed Forces are still deployed across the globe, working in concert with their allies in the name of peace. The freedom secured here in the Netherlands 75 years ago is unfortunately still denied to many across the globe today. We must continue to work together to stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. Thank you.
Somewhere over dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me. Where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow, white and white and dark. If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why can't I?
Dan wil ik graag het woord geven aan de vertegenwoordiger van de Koninklijke Luchtmacht en tevens de woordvoerder, spreekmeester van de groep de Pleinhunters. De Pleinhunters die hebben hier in de regio heel veel bodemonderzoek gedaan en heel veel van de rapporten die hier verschenen zijn, ook in de boeken die geschreven zijn door Ruud Wildekamp, door Jacques, die zijn gevoegd voor de informatie van die groep. Dan kan ik ze met name eigenlijk wel noemen die zeer actief zijn geweest. Dus Joop Hendricks die zo meteen komt en Jacques de Vet. De stille, hardwerkende man op de achtergrond. Joop, en jou het woord.
Dankjewel, Leo. Dames en heren, ik ga deze speech in het Engels doen vanwege de familieleven. U allen zal dat ook wel verstaan, heb ik begrepen. Family and friends, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. My name is Joop Hendricks. I'm a retired Dutch Air Force pilot. It's a privilege for me to speak for two reasons. First, as a former Dutch military pilot, I received my training on wings from the Royal Canadian Air Force almost 40 years ago. Secondly, I was involved in the search to find the exact crash site of this Lancaster. As being a member of Pleinhunters Recovery Group, we tried to locate the crashed airplanes in the Netherlands and Belgium. Together with our fellow Pleinhunters, Jacques de Vet and Jacques Houwman, we formed a team in 2017 to research all crashes that took place in the municipal of Bergen during World War II. It took us a year to finish the project, and lots of local people participated and shared their knowledge to us, like Gerry Franken, sitting there, and Han van Arendsbergen. The outcome of the project led to the publishing of a book describing all 14 crashes. For 5 long years, the war raged through Holland. During this time, about 6,000 planes crashed or made emergency landings in Holland. Often the crews lost their lives, and yet sometimes they were able to get out of the planes with their parachutes. Most survivors were caught and spent years in prison camps. If we look to the historical records, it shows enormous loss of life from Bomber Command air crews. From a total of 125,000 crews, more than 55,000 lost their lives. 8,000 were wounded, almost 10,000 taken prisoner. More than 8,000 aircraft were lost. Shocking numbers, but numbers themselves are cold. Let's take a minute to realize that every number represents grief that went through the families of the individual people. Each and every of the crew members had family. The fathers, the mothers, the brothers, the sisters, the aunts, the uncles, and their friends. So more people were shocked by the death of their loved ones. Today, the family is present here thanks to Leo Jansen, who made it his mission to find the family from each and every crew member of our Lancaster. In Bergen, 11 Allied airplanes and 3 German planes crashed. On Allied side, a total of 20 people died. 19 people were taken prisoner and 7 escaped. For this crew, it all started with a mission to the Krupp factories in Essen. 457 airplanes took to the pitch dark night on March the 12th, 1943. For the crew it was their 7th mission to enemy territory. Unfortunately, the aircraft was shot down by Oberleutnant Müller from Air Defender. The crew consisted of the 7 people that already are mentioned by Leo. A total of 126 squadrons served at Bomber Command. Of these, 32 were officially non-British units. 15 Canadian squadrons, 8 Australian, 4 Polish, 2 French squadrons, 2 New Zealand squadrons and 1 Czechoslovakian squadron. Often the regular RAF squadrons were a mix of crews from these countries, as was the case with Lancaster ED 449. A crew was a team that trained together and stayed together. In order to take care of the task at hand, it was vital for the crews to know each other and be able to depend on each other. So these 7 friends, aged 20 to 22 years young, I would say, will have had beers together when off duty in a cozy English pub. They will have talked about their lives, the dreams they had for the future, and the fear and uncertainty that lay ahead with each flight that took them into hostile territory. They were well aware of the danger, and their youth gave them the strength to overcome that. The German night fighter ended their dreams. Commemoration by putting abandonments is necessary. The number of eyewitnesses that survived this dark episode in the history of the Netherlands has been decreasing rapidly over the last few years. So today we will provide a form of closure by unveiling a monument as a remembrance for these young men that died for our freedom. And finally, I want to thank the project group Wings for Freedom Bergen, the Municipal Bergen, and all volunteers for their hard work. Thank you for your attention.
Dankjewel, Harmony de Vriendenkring. En dan wil ik graag nu het woord geven aan de aanstoker van deze hele middag. Een geweldige kerel, Jacques Hommer.
Een beetje lager voor mij, ja. Anders had ik nog iets anders mee moeten brengen. I would like to say a welcome to you all, special for the relatives from Canada and from England. I would like to tell you something about what happened here with the Lancaster on March 12, 1943. A week before the 12th of March, the RAF carried out a major attack on the Ruhr area with 440 aircraft at Essen, the home to the group factories. On the 12th of March, there was another similar action with 450 aircraft, of which 156 were Lancasters. The Lancaster ED 449 had already made 6 successful flights, 2 to Berlin, 1 to Düsseldorf, 1 to Lorient in France, 1 to Essen and 1 to Nuremberg. Because all those planes flew over this area to the Ruhr, people often stood looking at the sky in the evenings. Sometimes the sky was black from the amount of planes, and it took half an hour to see all the planes coming over. I was 6 years old in 1944, and I remember seeing a few times myself. They all flew nicely in formation. There were people outside at a particular evening of the 12th March, and I spoke to one of them, Joe Budiger, who lived behind these hills here. So it happened. A Lancaster was on fire and the wing broke off. The wing fell with its point in the sand mountain and the plane kept burning after it crashed into the ground. Information obtained later showed that the aircraft was shot down by the very successful German pilot Manfred Müller. He shot down 4 bombers that night. In total even 65 before he was shot down himself. The German had a special cannon mounted at the top of the Messerschmitt. The Lancaster had no defense at the bottom. The Messerschmitt then came very low, gave a salvo and flew away. The field gunner therefore had no chance of hitting the German hunter. In that period there was a so-called civilian protection in every village. 2 men on a bicycle who were allowed to cycle at night in their position to warn the fire brigade if a fire broke out somewhere. At this crash, they were the first to arrive at the fallen aircraft. I was able to speak to one of those 2 people, 93 years old. He saw that the plane was in blaze of fire and there were still 5 burned people in it. One of them still with the machine gun in his hand. Another aviator was found near the crash site. The mayor, who helped several pilots to flee, was quickly on the spot and brought this man, more dead than alive, to the Red Cross post in his car. The tail gunner, Victor Kissick, was seriously injured while jumping and still tried to flee. He was shot by a German patrol. The Dutchman, Frans Verkooyen, was in 1947 at his reburial from Venlo to Jonkerbos and sent the found pocket knife that belonged to Victor Kissick to the family. From the further report it became known that there was an enormous damage at Krupp. Also 500 houses had been destroyed and 200 people died. In total, 23 of the 450 aircraft were shot from the sky that day. That was 5% lost passengers. This is what we know about this crash after 75 years. The next point is why this monument of the Lancaster ED 449 at this place. In the first place, because the crew of this Lancaster, 7 crew members died here. The second reason is related to Murray Kissick. Because during my investigation, I was told by someone that a Canadian had been in Bergen years ago to visit the crash site. It turned out to be Murray Kissick. He was then referred to a crash site of a Lancaster, but that was the wrong one. There are 3 Lancasters that crashed in Bergen. I got in touch with him via email, and I promised him that we would erect a monument at the crash site of the AD 449, and that he could do the unveiling. And so it will happen today. Dan wil ik nog graag iets heel anders zeggen. Zoals bekend heb ik een boek geschreven over de vliegtuigcrashes. Maar zo'n boek over vliegtuigen, dat schrijf je natuurlijk nooit alleen. Ik heb hierbij heel veel hulp gehad. Van Gerrit Franke, van Han van Arensbergen, van veel ooggetuigen. Maar er zijn ook nog een paar gouden kerels die mij geholpen hebben. Zo. En die twee, dat zijn Joop Hendricks en Jacques de Vet. Mag ik een klein applausje voor die twee? Zij hebben alle crashplekken onderzocht en bewijsmateriaal verzameld om die crashplekken vast te leggen. Dat hebben ze niet alleen hier, maar in totaal al meer dan 250 keer gedaan. En dan komt de tweede fase. Van een voorstel van zo'n klein monumentje naar eentje van 3 meter en van zo'n klein fietsplaatje naar een bord dat iedereen opvalt, nou dat is een hele stap geweest. Ook hierbij alle hulp van werkgroepen, van sponsoren, van 4 gemeentes en niet alleen financieel, maar ook sowieso alle medewerking. Maar ook weer 2 gouden kerels. Eentje is Leeuw Jansen. Die van alle 7 verongelukte vliegeniers, de nabestaanden die hier nu zitten vanuit Canada en Engeland, bij elkaar vergaard heeft. En er is ook nog een tweede. En dat is Gert Peters. Die naast medewerking aan het programma 3 à 4 dagen volledig gratis entertainment voor de nabestaanden geregeld heeft. Mijn dank voor dit alles is zo groot dat hij niet in deze tent past. Anders had ik hem meegebracht. Maar het is wel goed. De dank blijft. Dankjewel.
Dankjewel Jacques. Woorden uit het hart. Dat waren in de gemeente Bergen Frederik Woord vanuit Canada, Robert Wilson, Engeland, Frederick Steffens, Engeland, Ronald Heslop, Engeland, Andrew Allen, Scotland, Victor Kissick, Canada en Richard Jenkins, Engeland. Dan van een volgende vliegtuig John Hayes uit Australië, Walter Cook uit Engeland, Percy Ames uit Engeland, James Park uit Engeland, John Evans uit Engeland, Leslie Smith from Canada, Owen Simpson from Canada. Het volgende vliegtuig. Thomas Smith van Engeland, Leslie Willis van Engeland. Een volgend vliegtuig. Augustus Gehöri uit Oostenrijk, Heinrich Odenthal uit Duitsland, Sebastian Frank uit Duitsland, Karel Mals uit Duitsland, Malcolm Wallace uit Engeland, Cyril Calvert uit Engeland en James Jacks uit Canada. David Guthridge uit Engeland, Helmut Klinker uit Duitsland, Frank Bolton uit Engeland, Arthur Neumann uit Duitsland, Ronald Dover uit de Verenigde Staten, Amerika. Daar komen we in Mook Middelaar. Ronald Pope uit Engeland, Andrew Glenn uit Engeland, Thomas Potter uit Engeland, Roy Schouwer uit Engeland, Frank Lee uit Engeland, Frank Leigh Fleury uit Engeland, George Green uit Engeland, Thomas Sparks uit Engeland, Cecil Ray uit Engeland, Alton O'Dell uit Engeland, Frederick Gilder uit Engeland en Leonard Herbert uit Engeland, Milton Glantz uit Amerika, Oren Smith uit Amerika en tenslotte Warren Lightbourne uit Engeland voor de Bahama's.
Tomorrow, when the world is free, the shepherd will tend his sheep, the valley will bloom again, and Jimmy will go to sleep. Just you wait and see. The shepherd will tend his sheep, the valley will bloom again, and Jimmy will go to sleep in his own little room again. There'll be
de volgende is de ambassade van de United Kingdom door commandant Alistair Barclay.
Goed zo.
De volgende is van de Royal Canadian Legion. Dat is een club in Nederland die belangen dit soort manifestaties voor de gevallene Canadezen in de naam van Mark van Aken en Fred Blom. De volgende is van de Duitse ambassade, oberluitenant Sven Krumwie.
Beetje omdraaien. Omdraaien. Ja.
volgende krans is van de KNVOL, dat staat voor Koninklijke Nederlandse Vereniging Onze Luchtmacht, de heer Klaas Jacob Bakker.
Andersom draaien. Dus dat komt helemaal goed.
Dan volgt de Royal Air Force branch the Netherlands door meneer Rex Thompson.
Ja.
Dan volgt Wing Commander Mary Temple namens de NATO. Dan volgt de krans van de Friends of Skellingthorpe. Dat was de basis waar het toestel is vertrokken. Die wordt gelegd door mevrouw Henny Jansen-Arts.
Kom maar. Pak dat bosje.
Jack en Joop en Sjaak. Vervolgens de gemeente Bergen, Gennet, Moog-Middelaar en Weetse wordt gelegd door meneer Splinter. En als laatste hebben we een afgevaardigde van de Rabobank, die ook ik als zijn naam staat. gespeeld wordt door een jongen van 10 jaar. The Last Post, gespeeld door Sam Moore.
Always do till the blue skies drive the dark clouds far away. So will you please say hello to the folks
De ceremonie van vandaag, dat bewijst maar weer hoeveel de Tweede Wereldoorlog en de gevolgen daarvan nog steeds leeft onder de mensen. Het aantal mensen dat deze verschrikkelijke tijd aan de lijve heeft ondervonden, wordt echter steeds minder. Er zijn steeds minder getuigen. Dit monument en alle andere 27 kleinere borden in de 4 genoemde gemeentes, die laten ons stilstaan en moedigt ons aan om alle te gedenken die deze gruwelijke periode het leven hebben gelaten. Hiermee geven we onze vrijheid door aan de generaties na ons. Dat is erg belangrijk.
Just like you always